Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of In Ohio Country Today podcast, part of the In Ohio Country Today TV show in our iHeartMedia Radio Ag Network. I'm Big Dan Wilson, and this week our guest is Dave Stamp. Dave is with BOA Safra. Did I say that right, Dave?
You sure did.
And Dave is one of the guest speakers for this year's 2026 Land Expo with Dye Real Estate and Land Company. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Dave, you're out of Iowa. Let's talk about growing up and your ag background.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I grew up on a diversified farm in western Iowa, Harrison County, just a little bit north and west of Council Bluffs. We had hogs, poultry, and beef cattle, cows and cattle. There's three boys, and my oldest brother, he was the one that took on doing the farm work and running the tractors, and I was the guy with the scoop shovel and taking care of the cattle and the hogs and those things, and spent 18 years doing that pretty much from the time I was 5 or 6 doing chores up until I went on and went off to college.
What are some of the things you learned from growing up on the farm?
Well, one, my grandfather had an old saying, once a task is once begun, never leave it until it's done, whether the job be great or small, do it well or not at all. And honestly, learned that well from being on the farm, that Dad would say, hey, did you shut the water off? Did you shut the gate? And it's amazing, all those little details, how important they are. And those little details, if they don't get done, they cause major problems. So I think a lot of those things, and the responsibility at an early age, and also trying to figure things out, that somebody wasn't always around, you just had to figure it out. But I think those are a couple big lessons learned by growing up on a farm.
It's interesting for those of us with over 40 years of experience in anything. They always seem to want to call us veterans, right? Right. You're an agricultural veteran, like I'm a broadcast veteran, but 40 years of experience in sales of seed and various other products when it comes to the agricultural industry. So let's talk about some of your background work-wise.
Yeah, so I kind of one of them individuals that probably got about 30% of my career on the livestock side, from the feed, nutrition, animal health, and then moved over to the seed side. So working for organizations like Pioneer, worked there 15 years, and spent time on the livestock side there, and then over on the crop side as a district sales manager, and then from there, I had an opportunity to start up a new seed company that was called Channel Seeds. And so over time, doing about every task you can think of with them, ended up being in charge of 3 of the 4 different brands before it all became Channel. So, when you work your way from the bottom up, you learn a lot. So, that was a great experience, 10 years there. So that's 25 years in the seed business. And then I spent time helping start when the agronomy and precision and grid sampling was started. And we were one of the first, after I left Monsanto, they bought Channel. I ended up starting the precision software with a friend of mine called E4 Crop Intel. And so we did that. And we did a lot for a lot of large land investors and companies like United Suppliers. We did all their foliar stuff. And so, then went on to work for another ag company doing M&A, mergers and acquisitions, and a lot of new technology startups. So just kind of a wild career, I guess, doing a little bit of everything.
And that's something that has kept your hands in the soil, in the dirt, if you will. And one of the topics, I guess, that you're going to be covering at the 2026 Land Expo is literally that, unlocking the hidden value in your soil. So let's talk about the different soil types that you've experienced throughout the I-states or the Midwest, and how that is so valuable and so important when it comes to our ag producers?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah, I have worked pretty much across the Midwest, from the Rockies to pretty much Ohio when it's come to the seed and agronomic side of it. And then when we're in the soil testing business, we did about 500,000 acres of soil testing a year. So we had a chance to look a lot different, types of soil. One of the things was one thing I really found out was a lot of people know what an acre of really good ground is, but they don't know the value of maybe what the marginal acres is and how that can be improved and increase the productivity. So personally from that, my wife and I became investors, and we bought marginal ground that had low organic matters and low fertility, and we improved that land through commercial and livestock manure. And we've been able to build organic matters from 0.5% to 3.5% and move APHs on some of our soils up over 100 bushels in the time that we've owned the land, so per acre. So,
wow.
So a lot of learnings, but definitely by having the chance to work with a lot of other people, learned how to bring that back practically as a land investor myself.
And when you talk about those marginal acres, I'm sure you're not, recommending or suggesting that we take advantage of all that property that goes in up into those buffers along the waterways and things like that, but just being a little bit more conscious about our soils and making sure we're getting the biggest bang for the buck.
Yeah, I don't know how many miles of terraces I put on all my properties. I have headlands on all my property. I've got, waterways. I built dams, trying to make, part of being agriculture and growing up. I grew up in times when people were literally, plowing and tilling up the hills. And I remember as a kid,
wow,
driving Dad would after a heavy rain and all the road ditches were totally full of mud, and I have done a lot of like 2 years of corn and maybe 1 year of beans or even continuous corn. I just hate to see any of my soils lose. And anytime I do soybeans, I definitely use a cover crop. I want the nutrients to stay that I put on the farm, and it doesn't do any good for me to lose them, for
absolutely
economic reasons besides just good stewardship.
Absolutely. You're listening to the In Ohio Country Today podcast, part of the In Ohio Country Today TV show and our iHeartMedia Radio Ag Network. I'm Big Dan Wilson, and our guest this week is Dave Stamp. Dave is one of the guest speakers in the 2026 Land Expo for Dye Real Estate and Land Company. That's coming up July 28th, and that'll take place at the Howard Johnson in Lima, Ohio. And Dave, part of what your topics are going to be is agricultural tax and soil analysis. So let's tease it a little bit. Let's talk about what we can expect when we come to that event and hear you speak about that agricultural tax or those advantages.
Well, probably the biggest thing is if you've inherited or purchased land since at least 2010, there's some significant tax deductions that you can take advantage of. And an average across the United States, it's about $1,700 an acre. And I'll get into more details about how you can claim that and how you and what goes into that valuation.
It's important too, because we're at that time, especially when we're dealing with all the geopolitical issues that are out there and the volatility when it comes to marketing our grain or our other commodities, and making sure you're saving as much as you can and making as much as you can. This is a great opportunity for you to learn something that can keep money in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things where a lot of people, today, working capital is really, something that's on everybody's mind, having cash and keeping cash in your pocket and available. you know, for what our fee is and for what the deduction is, you won't find probably anything that has a better return versus maybe you spend a lot of dollars on year-end inputs and you spend $1 and maybe you save a little bit in taxes. This is definitely a very economic thing to be able to think about before you get into year-end taxes. So, yeah, it's definitely a huge benefit.
So, Dave, what kind of response have you been getting from other people who have attended your speaking engagements? What kind of feedback are you getting back from attendees?
You know, probably definitely a lot of questions. You know, is this something that works for them? You know, questions about maybe this is too good to be true. You know, it's a big deduction that is available. So get into a lot of the details of what it would take to qualify and what they may need to provide in order to be able to take advantage and get a nutrient tax deduction report prepared for them.
So the 2026 Land Expo coming up Tuesday, July 28th in Lima, Ohio. It'll all take place at the Howard Johnson. If you want more information, you can always go to dierealestate.com. That's dierealestate.com. And we'll also have a link to that at our website at inohiocountry.com. Dave, is there anything else you want to cover? Anything else that you want to tease people about to come and see you at the Land Expo on Tuesday, the 28th?
Sure. If they bring the county that they're from, we can do a estimate. We have an estimator from all the different reports we've done on different counties, and we've done a lot of them in Ohio, so we can give you a kind of an estimate of what your tax deduction might be based on when you purchased your land and what county it's located in.
Oh, that is really, really cool. That's fantastic. Well, you've been listening to the In Ohio Country Today podcast, part of the In Ohio Country Today TV show and our iHeartMedia Radio Ag Network. Dave Stamp has been our guest. He's going to be one of the featured speakers at the 2026 Land Expo, sponsored by our good friend Devin Dye at Dye Real Estate and Land Company. Again, for more information, check them out on the web at dyerealestate.com. That's dyerealestate.com. Dave, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you on July 28th.
Likewise, looking forward to seeing everybody.
And we'll be back with more In Ohio Country Today right after this. You don't want to miss the 2026 Dye Real Estate Land Company Land Expo, Tuesday, July 28th at the Howard Johnson in Lima, Ohio. It's designed for landowners, farmers, investors, and industry professionals looking to stay ahead in today's evolving agricultural landscape. This year's event brings together industry experts to cover key topics impacting farmland ownership, investment, and long-term planning. It's the Dye Real Estate 2026 Land Expo. Register today by going to dyerealestate.com. That's dyerealestate.com. Allen Davis Insurance Agency, your solutions provider in Wapakoneta, Lima, and Minster. Allen is a business owner and an active farmer. Trust Allen Davis Insurance Agency for auto, home, life, commercial, and total farm protection. For more information, check us out on the web at allendavisinsurance.com. Your outdoor fun starts here at Dad's Toy Shop. See us today for all of your favorite remote control land, air, and watercraft, and so much more. Dad's Toy Shop in downtown Wapakoneta is your one-stop shop for all of your hobby needs. Enjoy great news and even better deals at Apple Farm Service. Right now, get 0% financing for 48 months on all new Kuhn equipment. From Kuhn Night Spreaders to Kuhn Kraus Tillage and everything in between, Kuhn has the tools you need to get the job done right. Built for performance and reliability, it's equipment you can count on. Stop by your local Apple Farm Service or learn more online at applefarmservice.com/Kuhn. Rodot Leasing, Sales, and Service is your place for Wilson Livestock Trailers. Wilson builds reliable, lightweight, and corrosion-resistant aluminum livestock trailers. Wilson is known for their attention to animal and operator safety, as well as the best in biosecurity. Wilson delivers your best value and your lowest cost of operation. Rodot is your home for Wilson Livestock Trailers. Call Rodot Leasing, Sales, and Service today. Learn more at rodot.com. Get your equipment ready for the Dye Real Estate Land Company Equipment Consignment Auction, July 14th at the Putnam County Fairgrounds in Ottawa. At Dye Real Estate Land Company, we connect sellers with buyers to help ensure you get the best deals. So mark your calendar and join us July 14th at the Putnam County Fairgrounds in Ottawa for the Dye Real Estate Land Company Equipment Consignment Auction. For more information, go to dyerealestate.com. That's dyerealestate.com.
Welcome back to In Ohio Country Today. I'm Amanda Mangan, and I have Sherrod Brown here with me, former senator for the state of Ohio and the Democratic nominee running again for state senate. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
You spent some time in Perry County meeting with farmers. Let's talk about that first and what you heard from the folks that you met with.
Yeah, small town, rural farmland, Ohio is really hurting. They're upset. They have suffered, especially from high cost of fertilizer, high cost of diesel. We talk about gas prices and how people are hurting. Diesel prices are even more steeply, or have gone up even more steeply. And that's farmers use diesel for their tractors. Farmers pay more for fertilizer. They use diesel for their combines. They know this war is making everything harder for them. They know the tariffs are making things harder. And they know John Husted has done nothing, zero, to fight back on their behalf. So I spent a lot of time in farm country learning more. I was on the Ag Committee for years, and I know what we need to do to help fix this problem.
And realistically, every issue basically that you're facing on the campaign trail can be tied back to an impact on the ag industry in Ohio, whether it's the tariffs that have been leveraged against other countries and foreign trade, and just all the major concerns that are facing all of us right now can really also be applied to some of the concerns that are facing farmers as well.
Yeah, I start with the tariffs. A year plus ago, when those tariffs were levied against many countries around the world with no real system to it, with no predictability. And already, so farmers were hit with higher prices if they wanted to buy a tractor or buy a combine, and when they needed spare parts. Combines and tractors are extraordinarily expensive anyway. When something happened, they needed to buy spare parts. They were seeing 40% increase there. And then with this war, clearly, farmers, with the price of diesel, with the price of fertilizer, on top of the tariff costs, on top of so much else they were dealing with, and then they looked in Washington, and there's nobody fighting for Ohio workers or Ohio farmers in Washington, speaking out against this war, speaking out against these tariffs, fighting alongside farmers to get help. It's the exact opposite of that. So when I'm in farm country, which is a lot, I grew up working on a family farm. I'm not a farmer, but I was a farm worker. I can see what they're facing, and it's as bad. I asked somebody today in a group of 8 or 10 corn farmers, and they said the last time it was this bad was probably 45 years ago. And so most of them have not seen it like this, and know they're hurting, and recognize they got nobody fighting for them in Washington.
It's been a rough couple of years for the ag industry, from the Ohio drought that was one of the worst droughts in more than a century that farmers had to deal with. And then you have zoonotic diseases like the bird flu that really decimated the chicken population in Ohio and caused egg prices to soar. And then you have the screwworm that is a concern for the beef industry. So what are you really focused on when it comes to some of these other issues that are facing farmers, whether it's climate and the change that's impacting some of these other invasive species and invasive zoonotic diseases?
Yeah, farmers understand all of what you just said. They first of all, rural people generally recognize if the Meckling farm, which is a farm in Perry County near Thornville, where I was today, or any other place in the state, they recognize if family farms aren't healthy, if agriculture is not healthy, the whole community gets sick. And rural Ohio is based on an ag economy that needs. They don't really need federal help. They know farming is risky. They know that that temperature, that weather is a risk. They know that price is a risk. They just don't want the government being on the wrong side, hurting them, and they want a senator who's going to speak out for them. And when you said that about risk in terms of disease and illness, one of the things that Mr. Meckling told a group of us today is the part of the reason you do crop rotation. And I knew this from working on our farm growing up, that the field we're standing in front of is corn this year. Last year it was soybeans. Next year it'll be beans. They are always aware of what they need to do to fight climate issues, to fight illness issues, to fight all kinds of challenges like that. But they need the government on their side, not against them. And they've seen too many cuts to programs that are important in terms of scientific research and all, important to farmers in rural areas, to so much else with these tariffs. And they will tell you that when tariff sales to China evaporated in 2024, American farmers sold $12 billion of soybeans to China. 2025, it was zero because of these tariffs. They worry that those soybean markets, these bean markets, are maybe gone forever, because once the Chinese look to buy from Brazil or to buy from Argentina to export from them, they may not go back, partly because they don't trust the idiosyncrasies or the unevenness of American policy, partly just because they built the infrastructure to buy it for Argentina and Brazil. So it's a long-term problem. We've got to fix it now. John Husted hasn't stood up. I'm not sure John Husted really understands this, but Ohio farmers understand that they don't have a voice in Washington and they want one.
Expanding markets and market opportunities is so important, especially as the foreign markets become more volatile. So offering the opportunity of E15, you mentioned corn farmers, E15 year-round fuel sales is an important issue for farmers that are looking to expand their markets internally, right?
Yeah, I was on, yes, exactly right, Amanda. I was on the Agriculture Committee. I was the first Ohioan since 1968, a guy named a former Ohio governor that was in the Senate and then lost a primary in 1968. No Ohioan had been on the Ag Committee since. And so one of the things I always looked out for is how to expand markets, especially for corn and soybeans, two of the biggest crops in Ohio. How to expand the market both domestically and internationally. One of the things we did domestically is sustainable aviation fuel, where we will see in the future, it's technologically possible now and has been done to turn corn into biomass as jet fuel. Also to expand E15, as you mentioned, E15 year round. That's a big consumer, if you will, of corn, and to look for other opportunities domestically, but also to sell corn and soybeans internationally, as we talked about earlier. So my job as a representative of Ohio and a representative of Ohio agriculture and Ohio farmers is how do we expand these markets so they can sell their products and sell them at a decent price. There's nobody in the Senate now looking out for those Ohio farmers to sell those products and to expand their markets. I know how to do that, and we'll continue to do it.
And being on the Ag Committee, you are familiar with the Farm Bill and how much work has gone into revamping that and really getting a workable, functional Farm Bill for what the ag industry is facing right now. And so how important is that to continue that legislation and making it work for farmers in an ever-changing environment?
Yeah, that's really the key, ever changing. There are, I believe, two bills that almost of necessity Congress enacts every 5 years to renew them. One is the defense is more often than that. The farm bills every 5 years. Frankly, because of this Congress, the 5 years is long past. That Congress has not stepped up to do this. There have been fights on a whole lot of things. And to me, the Farm Bill isn't partisan, it's regional. So I work with John Thune, the Republican leader, on some market access issues because he represents a state, South Dakota, that has a lot of the same agriculture we do. A little more wheat there, but a lot of corn and soybeans as we have. So I look for allies, forgetting about party, but look for allies in states that have similar kind of ag products, of commodities. Less so, a Republican from Iowa I work with more and probably better than a Democrat from, say, Georgia, who's more interested in cotton, less interested in corn and soybeans. So I keep that focus, and that's really the way to help make Ohio agriculture just more, I guess, more profitable.
And let's talk about really quickly your stance on data centers. I know it's a big concern for farmers, not only using up the land, but the resources, the water resources. So how do you feel and what are you hearing from farmers about data centers, the future of that, and the impact that it's going to have on the ag industry?
Yeah, thanks for that question, man. I can't go anywhere where I don't hear about data centers. The cities, the suburbs, and rural areas, and I hear about it probably more anger in rural areas. So think about it this way. So 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, a bunch of out-of-state investors came to Ohio and lobbied the legislature to get all these tax breaks for something called data centers. And I don't think people really, including legislators, not surprisingly, didn't really know what they were 3, 4, 5 years ago, but gave all these tax breaks to these investors. Those investors then came in, especially to rural areas, buying up land. People didn't really know what they were going to buying it up for. And then people wake up one day, farmers, people in small towns, people everywhere, and this huge data centers going in. They got tax breaks. My tax dollars are going towards it. They're taking some of the best farmland. They are sucking up water and potential pollution, but just taking the water that it's less available now for use for everybody else. And then they're going to drive electricity rates up. And John Husted sort of led the charge on behalf of the out-of-state investors. I mean, he wasn't an out-of-state investor, I assume. He might have been, but he was the guy in state government that decided to take that and run with it. So these data centers are there partly because of him, partly because of the special interest influence in state government, partly because of the greed of these outside investors to make money. And the most important thing is we've got to hold them responsible. We need to hold politicians responsible that did this. We need to hold these out-of-state investors responsible so that electricity prices in rural Ohio don't shoot even more through the roof. We already have high electric prices in Ohio, more than most states. It's going to get worse if we don't hold these investors accountable.
Another major issue facing the ag industry, like so many industries, is the next generation. How do we get them involved? How do we get them trained? So there's even a school system in Medina County that's looking at bringing back ag education into the schools. So what supports do you think ag education needs at every level? For even HBCUs like Central State that focuses on ag, what needs to be done at the federal level in order to support the future, the next generation of ag industry folks and their education?
Yeah, it's a real opportunity for young people, for young African Americans, as you mentioned, in the historically black colleges, for young kids generally. The farm I visited today, the Meckler farm in Perry County near Thornville, I knew his parents not very well, but they were teachers. They were vocational ag teachers I believe in Lancaster, I'm not sure. And they decided in 1970, when the parents were 40 years old, maybe, I don't know how old, but they decided they wanted to buy a farm, and they learned their skills in teaching vocational education, ag vocational education. And I like that story because I just heard it today. I like that story because it speaks to opportunities that young farmers can have. And it's hard to get people on the farm. It's hard to keep them on the farm. It's hard, especially with young people, because of the immense cost of starting a farm. But it's a partnership the federal government should lead on with education and perhaps with programs like people need help on first-time home buying. People need help on buying farms if that's a career they want to pursue.
Anything else that you want to get out there for folks?
That's good. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate the chance.
Thank you. And if folks want to find out more, where can they go?
They should go to sherrodbrown.com and tell us what you're interested in, and we'll follow up.
Thank you again so much for the time. I truly appreciate it.
Right. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thanks.
When your day demands versatility, you need a tractor that can keep up. Case IH Utility and the Vestrum Series tractors are built to handle a wide range of jobs around the farm, from loader work to field tasks and everything in between. Right now at Apple Farm Service, take advantage of 0% financing for 60 months or get low-rate special financing. Stop in today or visit applefarmservice.com/caseIH.
Your outdoor fun starts here at Dad's Toy Shop. See us today for all of your favorite remote control land, air, and watercraft, and so much more. Dad's Toy Shop in downtown Wapakoneta is your one-stop shop for all of your hobby needs. The SureTrack heavy-duty low-profile dump trailer is engineered for professionals who demand the highest level of strength, versatility, and efficiency. And Rodock Leasing Sales and Service is your place for your next SureTrack dump trailer. Available in multiple configurations, tailored to fit your specific needs, and built for heavy-duty tasks. This trailer delivers top-tier performance, helping you get the job done right every time. Call Rodock Leasing Sales and Service today, your source for SureTrack dump trailers. Learn more at rodock.com. Alan Davis Insurance Agency, your solutions provider in Wapakoneta, Lima, and Minster. Alan is a business owner and an active farmer. Trust Alan Davis Insurance Agency for auto, home, life, commercial, and total farm protection. For more information, check us out on the web at alandavisinsurance.com. You don't want to miss the 2026 Dye Real Estate Land Company Land Expo, Tuesday, July 28th at the Howard Johnson in Lima, Ohio. It's designed for landowners, farmers, investors, and industry professionals looking to stay ahead in today's evolving agricultural landscape. This year's event brings together industry experts to cover key topics impacting farmland ownership, investment, and long-term planning. It's the Dye Real Estate 2026 Land Expo. Register today by going to dyerealestate.com. That's dyerealestate.com.
Hey, that's going to do it for this week's edition of In Ohio Country Today. For more information about our TV show, our podcast, our YouTube channel, our iHeartMedia Ag Network, check us out on the web at inohiocountry.com. Have a good day, everybody.